So I'm Ross Laurie. I'm Chief Executive of a software business that sells software into the financial advice market. And we use open banking as part of our enriched income and expenditure reports that we provide directly into back offices. With my own hat on, we're dealing more with the financial advisor market. And luckily, those customers are served. Now, that's only 1 in 10 of the UK population. But in terms of how they can benefit from the software we're building, there's still a number of processes in the financial advice market which are just manual. They're not even partially digitized. It's just, it's literally a questionnaire or a form fill, or can you bring in 3 months bank statements? Things like open banking can help with that. We can now allow the advisor just to send out a link. The customer can then log in and we'll feed that information categorized into their back office. So instantly, the advisor can be spending that first conversation with the customer, giving them advice, rather than an hour or so asking 101 questions. And it's obviously got to be better for the customer, but it's better for our customer, of course, who's the financial advisor, who not only gets that data to give the advice, but they've got their other compliance responsibilities covered off as well, because of course, they've not just got things like open banking and PSD2 to deal with, they have MiFID 2 to deal with in terms of the reporting. And I suppose we're coming full circle with these digital tools, because there was a lot more customers getting advice pre-retail distribution review in 2012. And as a result of that sort of reduced the advisor market in terms of the numbers. So we're sort of coming full circle now, that something that was relatively okay handled is now going to come back to being okay handled thanks to regulatory updates and technology updates. It's a big question. I mean, the first thought on this is the open banking's barriers were sort of helped through the barricades, shall we say, by legislation pushing that forward. And interestingly, when we look at things like pensions dashboard, there's a recent poll, there's 200,000 signatures of people requested that to happen. So you've got one starting from a position of regulatory change or government-led decision making being pushed through quickly, and another one which has got the consumer saying we want this, maybe not going through as quickly. Now, so the barriers, as far as I can see, must be sort of organisational, because regulatory challenges have always been there, and I assume will be accelerated in terms of how we get through them as a result of things of COVID-19. But I would have thought that the main challenge is going to be organisational. I suppose another challenge might just be in terms of understanding that in order to get to a position of open finance, there's a whole problem of what do we do with that customer data? And that's maybe an open identity challenge, a federated identity challenge that needs to be addressed along with this. And then lastly on it, I think we kind of need to recognise the strengths and weaknesses of each sector. Banking is very different from wealth and pensions. Wealth and pensions are different things. And then we've got investments and savings, and then we've got assets, and then we've got credit. So there's almost a need to get to a position of a personal balance sheet. What the elements of that are required, and how do they all work together in some sort of synergistic fashion to achieve ultimately putting the customer at the centre of this, right? Because that's where it all started. So in summary, organisational. So that sort of portability of identity that is the sort of the main challenge, or the main solution for open finance, actually, because until we've got somewhere to store and actually allow the customer to monetize that data as well. Because remember, most companies that store your data are making money from it in some way. And I'm not suggesting that's what the banks or wealth institutions do, but generally, once we can start getting people into that position, it does allow us to accelerate a lot more other things. Because if you think of a sort of symbiotic financial services ecosystem, right, which we live in at the moment, it's just not all quite digitized yet. Where you got, as I mentioned before, banking, credit, pensions, savings, assets, your crypto collection, for all we know. If you want to try and understand what your position is for retirement, you need to be able to understand both what all your assets are and what all your likely expenditures are likely to be for however long you think you're likely to live. And that's an important question to start to ask yourself first as well, by the way, when it comes to planning. What age am I going to get to? That's difficult. So I think, and actually there's other data sets out there that could help inform and improve your chances of living longer. So if we can start off by finding some sort of, I think, federated identity store, which is going to have some sort of government involvement in it, because one, to make it legitimate, and two, to make it actually allowed into the system in the first place. It's such a bigger, more grown-up conversation than just open finance, though. It takes every part of life into account, and indeed may be driven forward because of the pandemic, because we're going to have some way to prove that we're immune if we get vaccines in the future, you know? So these things that I thought might take 10, 15 years to happen might happen much quicker than we thought. But once you've got that, then all these other elements can start putting their digitized content into it. And actually that might show some up. So if you've got banking in there, fine, and there's other elements in there, but there's one key part of the system not playing ball, well, the effort can be targeted at that and helping it get into the system in the first place. But I suppose you've got to keep going back to, this is all about putting the customer first. So it seems a bit odd to not be putting the customer identity first when we start trying to plan how all the systems work around it.